Think of it this way. I don't know how many stepmoms I've had say to me, look, I feel like my husband's ex-wife has more say in our schedule and our finances than I do. Yeah, that's a problem. Hi, I'm Ron Deal with Family Life Blended. One of the problems that we see with couples in blended families is parenting intersecting with marriage. The way I like to say it is, at the intersection of Parenting Street and Marriage Avenue, there's a whole lot of T-bone accidents right there. Because what starts off as a parenting issue quickly becomes also about your marriage. And those two things can really get tied up and cause some real marital difficulty. So let's talk about some step-parenting dilemmas that can cause marriage difficulty so you can keep them from creating difficulty for you. Number one, when a biological parent gets, I want to say, paralyzed in their parenting. Now, this is understandable. Like, your kids have been through a lot. You've been through a lot. Whatever the backstory is, death, divorce, whatever that story is, you've been through hard together, and you feel bad for them, and you want to take care of them, you want to protect them. And now, if there's some difficulty going on in the blended family, you want to protect them from that. And sometimes that makes biological parents get really soft in their parental discipline. You don't really manage expectations, you don't set boundaries, and you sort of let them slide on this thing that they've been disobeying about. But you know what? That just creates conflict between you and the step parent. It seems universal that biological parents want people to be really compassionate and take it easy on their kids. But step parents, this is also universal, want more boundaries and more structure and want their stepchildren to behave. But they're not the one that can do it. Step parent can't do it. You have to be the one who does it. You got to just sort of say, look, I can't let my guilt or pain over the past paralyze me. I've got to go ahead and follow through with my kids. I've got to raise the standard of conduct in the home. If you don't, I think you could just expect a lot of difficulties also in your marriage. But if you do, then you can begin to see things go in a better direction. Second one, step parents, this one's for you. Trying to act like you're erasing and replacing the biological parent. Let's say you're a stepmom. If you try to erase and replace the mom in the kid's eyes, it is just going to it's going to turn on you. And they're going to try to erase or replace you. You see, what happens is they need to maintain a strong connection with their mother. Now, you may not care for her much personally, but you need to honor their relationship. Why? Because that's everything to the kids. And actually, they're going to only move toward you if they maintain their relationship with them. If they feel like you're a threat to that relationship, then they're going to not draw close to you. You're not trustworthy at that point. So you want to be an encourager of their relationship with their mom. But you also want to make sure that she understands that you're not a threat to her, that you honor her, that you respect her role, and that you're not trying to take the kids. Anytime you can communicate that with words or in your actions, it goes a long way towards reducing their level of threat about you, which makes it more likely that they're actually okay that you're in the picture. Here's another one. When a biological parent gets easily defensive about your children's misbehavior and dismissive of the step-parent's thoughts or ideas. Okay, step-parents are outsiders. They see things. They may come in and say, hey, look, I've noticed your son's struggling with this. Can we help him get out of bed in the morning because it slows us all down when we're trying to get out the door? If you get defensive about your son, if you just dismiss everything that step-parent says, the message is loud and clear. You are more aligned with your son than you are in the spouse in your marriage. That's going to create difficulties, and that's not the way it should be. I'm not saying the step-parent's right. I just think you ought to give them some consideration. Help them to be a part of the parenting team. You guys talk it through, decide together how you want to move forward. Here's another trap you want to avoid. This one's for step-parents. When you unilaterally, meaning you just decide on your own, that you're going to try to right all the wrongs in a child's life. Sometimes step-parents come in and they say, you know what, this kid's got all kinds of things happening. I'm going to change this. I've got a good friend, Laura Petheridge. We wrote a book together called The Smart Stepmom. And she said when she came on the scene as a stepmother, she wanted to feed the kids different food and cook different meals and totally change their diet because whatever dad had been making was wrong and whatever mom had been cooking all those years was wrong. And she was going to right the wrong. And it completely backfired. Nobody wanted those changes. Nobody asked for those changes. Everybody felt like she was controlling the environment. That kind of stuff just works against you. The trick here is not make unilateral decisions. If you got some input, bring it to your spouse. You guys are a team. Be a team. Work through it, talk through it, make some decisions. Sometimes you'll move in those new directions. Sometimes you won't. Make some decisions together. This one's for the biological parent. Watch out for this one. If you let your co-parent, your former spouse, dictate your home schedule more than you allow that you consider your spouse's input into decisions, that's going to be a problem. Think of it this way. I don't know how many stepmoms I've had say to me, look, I feel like my husband's ex-wife has more say in our schedule and our finances than I do. Yeah, that's a problem. So what's that about? You giving in to the person in the other home? Is it about keeping the peace no matter what the cost? Because there's going to be a high cost. Is that about, I just hate battles and I don't want to get into it again? Is that about, I'm protecting our kids from the battles between us? I get that one. You don't want your kids caught in the middle. So that sort of makes sense. But here's the thing. You still got to give your spouse high consideration. They're a part of your life. Your allegiance to them needs to be so high that that's the priority relationship, not the person in the other home. Yes, be cooperative with your co-parent. Yes, be considerate. At times, make sacrifices on behalf of what's convenient for them in the other home. But at other times, say no. The balance is something you got to struggle with. Make sure you do it with your spouse. Okay, I got one more. This one's for step-parents who at times feel rejected by a stepchild or all of them. It's really, really hard. You're discouraged. You feel defeated, and rightfully so. And often you feel powerless in the situation to really do anything about it and make a difference. What do you do with that feeling of rejection? Well, the first thing is, I want you to just pull back for a second, because here's something I've noticed. What step-parents sometimes interpret as rejection really isn't. It's just a child who typically is confused. Think of it this way. You're a stepdad. Kid's got a great relationship with his biological father. That has everything to do with how open they can be to you as the stepfather. You're working hard. You're trying to do all the right things. The kid's just not opening up yet. Had one stepdad say to me, I know he loves football. He throws football with his dad all the time. He will never throw the football with me. Clearly, he didn't want anything to do with me. Yeah, no, wait a minute. And we talked it through, and he began to realize, oh, throwing a football is a special thing he's reserved for his relationship with his dad, and he just can't quite share that part of himself yet with me. Maybe he feels a little guilty. Maybe he's trying to hold on to dad extra tight for some reason. Whatever that is, it's not that he's rejecting you. He's just not letting you enter that space in his heart. So it's not rejection. It's, I need to find my own thing to connect to this kid that's not breaking in on that special territory. Right. Sometimes if you overanalyze this and turn it into something it's not, then you can end up making it worse than it really is. Now, having said all that, let me go around the corner, because sometimes you are rejected. They do have the door shut. They're not letting you in. Well, first of all, let's just acknowledge there's good reason for that sometimes. What I mean by good reason is a child is afraid of losing relationship with somebody else. Maybe they never wanted mom and dad to divorce, and so they're just holding on to the idea that maybe they can get back together again someday, and you being in the picture is not helping that equation. Maybe they feel some hurt as it relates to one of their parents. If you guys married, I've worked with couples where they had an affair and that was the end of the previous family. And there's been a lot of hurt and pain that has rolled out because of that. Guess what? That child's got some hurt and pain. They're going to have to work through that. They're going to have to find some forgiveness before they're ever really going to let you in their heart. That makes sense. Maybe you just have a little quirk. I've often said step-parents have to round off their rough edges, because kids will give a lot of grace to a biological parent. I mean, all of us have something quirky about our mom or our dad, some little habit about them or some little way that other people kind of scoff at, but I can get by with that. That's my dad. We have a lot of grace for people we love very dearly. Step-parents often don't get that consideration, especially not in the beginning. In the early phases of joining and bonding, you've got to really earn relationship with them. And so if you've got a quick temper, for example. Oh, your kid will give dad a break if he has a temper, but you as a stepdad, you're not going to get a break. You got to round off that rough edge. You got to work on that. And if you've already caused some difficulty in that child's heart, probably going to have to apologize and ask for forgiveness and try to repair that part of your relationship. Work on bringing resolution to the things that have gotten in the way of your relationship. And over time, the rejection, as it feels, can begin to come down. At the end of the day, you're looking for ways to connect. One more little thought here. Sometimes kids, boy, they do love you. They do like you. They do honor you. They're beginning to love you. And that's the problem. I can't let my dad know that I love my stepdad. So I hide it. I kind of warm up to my stepdad and then I back off. I had one guy say to me, look, I know what my stepson's love language is. A teenage boy. He said, I know what his love language is. It's quality time. And I love to spend time with him. He's trying to rebuild a truck and I go out and help him. And, he just never says thank you. He just never says, look, man, I enjoy that time working with you in the garage on this thing. And he said, I try, but I just get nothing out of it. And then one day he realized that he would hear things from his stepson's friends about how he told them about being in the garage with his stepdad and they worked on the truck and it was cool and they got stuff done and how grateful he was. The son would never say it directly to him, but he would say it indirectly to other people. That happens a lot. Be careful not to assume they don't respect or like anything about you. They just might. They just can't bring themselves to say it out loud for whatever reason. Maybe, again, he's worried about how if this word gets out about this to my dad, I don't know. I don't want to hurt that relationship, so I just don't ever say it to him. But maybe, just maybe, they're trying to show you in other ways. So don't just listen with your ears. Listen to their feet. How do they spend time with you? What are the things that they do? Listen with your hands. Do they give you gifts? Do they from time to time spend time with you in ways that are fun and energetic? That's their way of saying, I love you. And if you can listen mostly with your heart, you might just hear that there's something there. And until that day comes, keep loving them. Because as long as you're pursuing their heart, you have a chance for that door to open, for you to be able to walk here.